Hello, lovely people. My name is Matilda. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be making a Zafu, also known as a meditation cushion. I recently started a breathwork meditation practice, and I've just been practicing outside on my back patio in a saggy old lawn chair, and I was looking for ways to elevate my experience and upgrade my practice. And so I was first researching cushions or pillows or something like that I could sit on that might be a little bit more comfortable than my dusty old lawn chair. And as I was researching, I realized that I know how to sew and I have all of the materials already at home that I can make one myself. So today we're going to be making a meditation cushion, and if you don't meditate and you think that's weird or whatever, you can use this to sit on the ground while you read a book, or you can use it to sit on the ground while you watch television. I like to sometimes sit on the ground while I'm working on my computer. So this is going to be a perfect thing for me to use to make my ground sitting experience a little bit more comfortable. So whenever you're ready, grab your sewing machine and let's get started. To get started, you're going to need your sewing machine, your iron, and then you're also going to need a needle and thread. And make sure your thread is whatever color your fabric is going to be. And you're also going to need your pins. And then pick out your fabric. I'm using a heavier weight upholstery fabric. And then you're also going to need your scissors and then some kind of marking utensil and a ruler. And also a piece of ribbon or some kind of like string or scrap fabric will do as well. And then you're going to need some kind of stuffing to stuff your pillow with. I am using a bunch of old t-shirts and scrap fabric from other projects. So we're going to get started by measuring the top and bottom circles of the cushion. So in order to do that, we're going to tie our string to our pen or whatever we're using to mark our fabric. And then we're actually going to pin down that string to the fabric and then use this little contraption as some kind of sort of like protractor situation to measure the circle. So these are what the measurements for our circle are going to look like. I want the final diameter of our cushion to be 12 inches long, and then we're going to add 1 inch of seam allowance. So that means that the total diameter of the circles that we're going to cut is going to be 13 inches total. And then to get the radius number for our cushion, we're going to divide that number 13 in half. So that means that the radius of our circle is 6.5 inches. And the reason we want to know the radius of the circle is because this is going to help us actually draw that circle. So we're going to take that 6.5 inch measurement and mark that on our ribbon. And then wherever that 6.5 inches is, we're going to pin it to the center of our fabric. And then take the marker edge that's attached to that ribbon and use it to trace a circle all the way around our fabric, and that's going to give us our 13-inch diameter circle that we're looking for here for our cushion. And then the next step here is to just grab your scissors and cut out the circle that we just marked on our fabric all the way around, and make sure that you trim any excess fabric or anything that's messy there. And then we're just going to do this all over again. So using the circle that we just cut out, we're just going to mark on a new piece of fabric and then cut out the second circle again. And then we will have our top and bottom pieces of our cushion. So our next step now is to cut out our side panel piece. Basically, we want the length of our side panel to be the same amount, the same length as the circumference of our final cushion. And then the height of our rectangle is going to be the height of our cushion. So I wanted my cushion to be 6 inches tall, and then we're adding 1 inch for seam allowance. So we're going to have 7 inches total for the height of our rectangle. And then we're going to go back to our fabric, and I already measured the 59-inch length of the fabric, and then I just folded it into quarters so that I wouldn't have to measure and cut along 59 inches of fabric. And we're just going to measure that 7-inch height of the material, and then just going to go in and cut that material out. And this is what the final product of the side panel should look like. Since we're going to be wrapping this fabric around into a circle, we want to add in pleats to this material because it's just going to help everything lay nice and flat without bulging awkwardly. And so this is what the measurements of the pleats are going to look like and how we're going to mark them onto our fabric. So we're going to start out with a 6.5-inch space until we start our first pleat. And then each pleat is going to be 1.5 inches wide with 3 inches in between each pleat. And then we're just going to go along and mark these measurements along the entire length of the fabric. So we're just going to repeat that 1.5-inch measurement followed by the 3-inch measurement all the way until we get to the end. And then once you get close to the end, you want to leave another like 6.5 inches until the finish, just like we did at the beginning. Now it's time to actually pin the pleats into place. Try saying that 5 times fast. So you're just going to start by pinching right at that first line that we marked and folding it over to the second line. So you're only going to be making the pleats in that 1.5-inch measurement. So make sure that you pin the top and then the bottom of your fabric here. I'll get a slightly closer up shot so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing here, but we're just going to do this all along the rest of the fabric, pinching right at that first line and then folding over to the second line and making sure that you're only doing this for that 1.5-inch measurement. So we're leaving 3 inches in between each of our pleats, and you can kind of see over to the left there like what this is going to start to look like as we keep going and adding these pleats in. I'm just going to take it over to the iron and give it a quick press just so that the pleats stay in place nicely. And now it's time to just go to the sewing machine and baste these pleats into place. Make sure your stitch length is at 4 here, and basting these stitches into place is just going to make sure that everything stays exactly where we want it when we attach it to the top and bottom pieces of the cushion. We are getting so close to being finished here. So now it is time to put everything together. So you're going to line up your circle with your side panel with the right sides facing each other. And then you're just going to grab your pins and pin it all together. It's not really that difficult. Just make sure that you're not stretching your fabric at all. And then when you get to the end, make sure that you leave about 3 or 4 inches on each side of your fabric. And then this next part is a little bit tricky, so listen closely. So you're going to go onto the other side of your fabric and see which direction your pleats are going in. And whichever direction your pleats are going in, take that piece of fabric, and that's the piece that's going to be pinned to the bottom first. So once you find that, you're going to fold over your end piece of that fabric, and then you're going to fold it towards you. And then you're going to pin that side down first. And then you're going to take that other piece and just pin that one on top. And then you can see here how our fold just blends in really nice and smoothly with our other pleats, and everything's going in the same direction. And now we're just going to go back to our sewing machine and sew everything down and give it a nice little press. And then it's time to move on to putting the final piece together. So we're just going to do exactly what we did in the last couple of steps. We're lining up our circle piece right sides together with our side panel and just pinning everything into place. And then we're going to make sure that we're leaving again a couple inches there at the end. And then making sure to pin down that folded edge first, and then pinning on top the straight edge on top of that. And we are so close to being finished. I'm so excited. We're just gonna sew all along that edge. Make sure to be careful of those pleats. And then we're flipping it inside out, and we're gonna go back over to our iron and just give everything a quick little press, make sure those edges are nice and crisp. And now it's gonna be time to stuff our cushion. So just find that hole that we left there in the side panel and take all of your material and just stuff till your heart's content. Again, I'm using just upcycled materials. I had a ton of fabric scraps left over from old projects, so I'm using that. And then I had a bunch of old t-shirts that I wasn't using, so I'm also throwing those in there as well. But you can use literally whatever you have around. If you have extra cushion stuffing, you can use that. Literally like whatever works for you. And this project takes a lot more stuffing than you think it's going to. So just make sure that whatever you think you need, just maybe grab a little bit extra than that. The last step of this process is unfortunately my absolute least favorite part of the entire process, which is hand stitching the little opening shut. I'm just really bad at hand sewing, and I just am really impatient and don't like doing it. Here I am just threading my needle, and we're gonna go in and hide the knot that we made into the seam of the opening of the cushion and bringing that through, and then just go through and pick up a little bit of fabric from the opposite end of the opening, pull that through, and then go over to the other side, pull a little bit of fabric from that side, and just go back and forth. And depending on the color of your fabric and your thread, you'll need to be either more or less careful about hiding your hand stitching. Luckily, I'm just working with black, so it blends in pretty nicely, and you can't tell that I did literally a horrible job hand stitching this together. And then we're just going to tie our final knot, finish it off. And there you have it, a zero waste meditation cushion. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I had so much fun making it. If you end up making one, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear about your experience, hear about your process. Please let me know if you have any questions or if there's any projects that you would like me to make and show you on here. I would also love it if you tag me in your photos on Instagram or DM me a photo of your final project. I would literally love to see that. That would be such an honor. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you in future videos. Have a gorgeous day.